Hello and welcome back to Forge Academy. Today we are going through the second part from modify panel commands. We are going to take it one by one from trim, extend, explode, offset, array, also break by point, align, and a very powerful command that you want to save it for later because will save you a lot of time. And that one is called the polyline edit, but it has multiple options. So let's begin our today tutorial with our latest drawing from the previous tutorial. Now in the second part of the modify panel, first command that we have is trim. As you can see when your cursor go over it, this is trimming objects. We have here a door from a floor plan and is trimming the walls where the hole must be. So we are going to do the same. We can right click on the command or you can use the shortcut to access that command. Here we have a rectangle and we can just click it and erase or trim that line. As you may see when my cursor goes over the object, it already is marked with a red X on the right corner. And also the line that is going to be trimmed, it's marked with a gray color. But you can also use other objects as your trim limits. So if I want to trim this line, let's say around the middle, I can use a circle and I will draw it from the middle point. Now I can click on the object, then access the trim command. And now when I'm clicking, it's only trimming for me what is inside the circle. Of course, I can also trim the circle. If you want, you can use also lines. You can draw lines. So now I'm selecting the trim edges, the two lines that I have drawn. I access the trim command and I can trim what's inside it, or I can also trim what's over it. We'll use my selected lines as the edges, the point where the trim will end or begin. So this is the trim command. The next one is the erase. The erase is drawing, it's doing what you think of. It's only removing or deleting an object. You can also use the delete key on your keyboard. We'll do the same thing. I'm going with Ctrl Z shortcut to undo the erase. The third function for our second part of the panel is the fillet. This will round up your corners and you can use first the radius feature here to define your radius. So let's say 0.2 because I'm using millimeters as the unit. So as you may see now, the corners is rounded up. You can also use the fillet on multiple corners as many times as you need. The fourth command in the modify panel is the explode. This command will be very useful and you're going to use that a lot because it will turn any object into separate lines or objects in our case. So if I draw here a new rectangle, this is a closed shape. Also, I can use the Ctrl+1 shortcut to see in my properties. It's made from a polyline with a total length of 7 millimeters. This is the perimeter. And if I use the explode, I have already used it because my shape was selected, so I undo that. Okay, now it's back to a full rectangle. I access the explode or just write on screen the AXP, and this is the shortcut when you go to the second command from the list. You're going to explode. Now you are selecting the object and use the enter key. And now, as you may see, the rectangle is no longer made from polyline from one closed shape. It's made from 4 lines, and each line now when it's selected will show in properties its own length. So now instead of 7 we have the two big lines by 2.63 and the sides 1.04. Of course, the reverse command from explode, you will also find it here, is the join command, or you can just type the shortcut on your keyboard. You can also use the command first, then select your objects that you want to join and use the enter key. And now the all 4 lines are back joined into one rectangle and converted to polylines. You can also do it the other way around. So let's undo the changes, and I can first select the objects that I want to join and then use the join command and click the enter and use the enter key on my keyboard, and we'll do the same thing. Okay. Another command from our modify panel is the offset. This is useful as well. This will create an offset from any drawing. So let's say that I want to, to offset this rectangle with, let's say, 2 millimeters. First, you have to insert the distance, then use the enter key. And now it's asking you to select the object to offset. So now I can offset my rectangle with 2 millimeters. Okay, and use the escape button to exit the command. I can use that again and set it to a much lower value, to 0.1, let's say. And now I can click again the object I want to offset. And as you may see, I can offset it in the both ways, inside or outside my rectangle. And without quitting the command, you can keep offsetting by clicking your shapes and move the cursor in the way that you want to offset. Okay, I will use the erase command, but instead of going into the command, I will use the delete button. And as you may see here, above the command bar, it used erase to delete my outer rectangle that was offset to 2 millimeters. Another command from our modify panel is the array. The array will multiply your object around a specific point. So let's say that I want to multiply this arrow, that I'm going to modify its color. Let's say that I make it red. Also this little polyline here. Okay. And I want an array around my green arrow right here. So I'm going to select it all, use the array, and now it's already showing me a grid. It has made an array from my red arrow, or you can also use a base point. And now it has modified the array, as you may see. And I said first that I want to go with the polar array over the green one, so I have to use the drop down. and select the polar array. As you may see, it will ask me to select the center point of the array. So I'm going to select inside. I have done a mistake there. I didn't select the whole shape. So let's undo. Okay, let's use the blue square. Back to the polar array. And now when I select it, I already can see the pre-visualization. And I can enter to finish the command. Now when you click on it, it's grouped in the similar way as an array. You can also multiply the items in your array. So let's say 10. So it will just add another 4. And also you can change the diameter, the center, the base, and everything from your property tab. If you want to modify just one shape of the array, in order to be able to modify it individually, you have to explode first the array. So now, as you may see, each shape, each arrow can be edited individually, but you cannot convert it back to an array. The third option from our array is the path array. So as you can see, it will create an array based on your path. So let's create a polyline, convert the middle point. Okay, I'm going to copy this arrow, place it in the middle, and now use the path array. Select again the object, and it's asking me to select the path curve. And as you may see, it created in the same path that my curve was, multiple arrows, and also when I will use the enter key from my keyboard, will generate me all the arrows. And you can also modify it from your property tab. So first you had to go to the array tab, unlock it, and then you can modify also in properties. You can also place as many rows as you want, and will keep you placing it like an offset from your array. Okay, in the same way you can explode it if you want to have individual shapes. And now you are going through the align command. The align command, it's doing exactly what its name says. It's going to align any objects. In the align, the first source point and the second, and going with no. So the second object was aligned based on the source point to the first one. Now, if I undo the command and I'm going again to select yes when it's asking me to scale the object, selecting the first point, selecting the second point, and now I'm going to scale the object. So as you may see, it aligned it but also scaled. So this is similar to scale with reference that we have learned in the other tutorial. Also, there is a command named break. So you can break by 2 points. As you may see here, I use break to remove this area from a rectangle, but it didn't explode my rectangle to lines. You can also use this break command to circles. In the same way, you can specify 2 points, or you can just keep the half. I made a little gap here And to reverse the gap that I made with break, you can also use join and ask for close. So now the circle is back in one shape. You can also use the break by point. So you will just break the lines in one point. So it has created, as you may see, a break here in my rectangle. It will work also with the polyline. I can click on the middle point. And now I have to separate polylines. Okay, there are also other commands around that you wanna play with. The hatches. One useful command that you want to learn will be the extend. This will be like a reverse to trim. So let's say that I want to extend those two lines from our rectangle here to match our polyline down here. So I can select the polyline that I want to reach, use the extend command, and now when I'm selecting or only when I'm moving the cursor over our rectangle lines, as you may see, it will already show me where it will extend our lines. It will also work with other shapes, and it may also work to close the breakpoints in the same way. So that will conclude our video for today. Now we have completed the modify panel with all its commands. If you have any question about those commands and any issues, you can type it directly into comments below and I will answer every single of them. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for our next tutorial.